from a dusty garage in Sri Lanka to tea drinking markets all over the world. Our guest today is a veteran in Sri Lanka's tea industry and has been passionate about taking Sri Lankan tea to the global market. I'm thrilled to have with us today Mr. Niran Ranatunga, who is the Managing Director of Mabroc Teas Private Limited. Welcome to the Hayleys podcast and thanks for joining us. Right, so of course you're here representing Mabroc. Tell us a little bit about your journey. I know you're a co-founder, you're one of the original founders of Mabroc, right? So tell us about that journey and how it has been like for you.
Well, to start off with Mabroc, yes, we started 35 years ago in a small house, 2 rooms and a garage. And the garage was full of dust though. We 5 of us were the partners, and then we had 5 of us had to clean the garage and then make our makeshift tea room there.
Okay.
And the journey started there. Initially, it was quite challenging. For the first 3 months, we didn't have anything, and we had to work hard to get it started and start the exports. Initially, we had a problem because when we left the previous company, there were a few issues. So we concentrated on selling tea locally.
Okay.
And that's how we started. And then the first order came about 3 months ago, 3 months after the commencement. And then where we are now is different to where we started.
So that's the first and the last time you cleaned a garage, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Right, so like why tea? Like have you always been passionate about it?
Yes, actually I wanted to become a planter because there was so much of glamour at that time. You know, the rolling tea estates, the bungalows and all that. And then that time the plantations were managed by 2 government organizations called JDB and State Plantations Corporation. So I applied for a vacancy at State Plantations and got selected. So when I went to work, they said they don't have any vacancies as a creeper. They called it creeper for a trainee. So to work in the head office, and then they'll post me into a estate when the vacancy arises. So there I found tea tasting. They were tasting their own tea, and I was supposed to follow the batches with the seniors. And then 1 month down the road, I liked tea tasting more than planting. So that's how the tea tasting career began.
Okay. So I mean it's a unique skill, right? Tea tasting. So like what kind of like capabilities do you need?
Yeah, it is basically, we all have the taste buds. We have a meal, you taste the meal, and if you like it, you go back to it again.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, but you need to train your taste buds to taste tea because that's something different. So that needs a little bit of discipline. There's no smoking, eating chilies, all that initially, and then because there are very mild tastes that a normal person will not get. So once you master that, I mean, tea tasting is a job where you learn every day.
Okay.
Even now I'm learning because there's always something new. There is no 2 teacups similar to each other. So putting all these teas together and arriving at one sort of blend is like a jigsaw puzzle.
Okay.
So
So you need to build, I think, that refinement of taste.
yes. Tasting. I mean, a good taster will be after about 5 years of tasting without a break. But after about the first 6 months, you start getting the taste little by little. So then only it becomes interesting. Initially, when you taste, you don't taste.
Ah, okay.
You gulp it down, because you're not used to it.
Okay.
You slurp it and throw it out.
You're not supposed to swallow, no?
Swallow,
Yeah.
because when you taste so many cups of tea,
Yeah.
basically you can't keep on swallowing everything, so
Okay.
so it's actually an art. You train your palate, then your imagination plays a huge role in your ability to come up with new blends and
Wow.
so basically in a nutshell it's like a jigsaw puzzle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you still get involved in the
Yes, of
tasting?
course, of course.
Okay.
I mean, I'm totally involved in the day-to-day operations, tasting, approving blends. I mean, that's my job. That has been my job for the last so many years.
Yes.
So, enjoying it.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to like what happened after Hayleys acquired. I think it was 2004 you mentioned,
Yeah.
no?
In 2004, Hayleys acquired Hayleys subsidiary, Calumet Plantations acquired 40% of Mabroc. Uh, and then we worked together. It was a very good association because we were an exporter and they were a producer. So it was complementing each other extremely well. Basically, in 2010, Hayleys wanted buy the balance shares, and the five partners agreed. And we sold everything, balance 60% to Hayleys in 2010 December.
Okay. So how was that transition moving from like a, a small business to becoming part of this big conglomerate? How was the transition?
Uh, Basically, it was a bit of a shock to me personally
Okay.
because five friends starting a business and doing the business is different to joining a huge conglomerate like this. And where Hayleys had so much of procedures and things, so we had to align ourselves. Initially, it was challenging, but now, in hindsight, I feel a very good thing that happened to the company. I mean, we've grown so much since
Yeah.
coming into Hayleys because of their systems, procedures, way of management.
Yeah, so I mean, I think over the last few years, Mabroc has recorded like tremendous growth. I think now you all are the biggest supplier of Sri Lankan tea to China, right?
Yes.
If I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. Okay. So tell us about that journey. Like, how did you go into China and how did you capture this big market?
Well, China, we went into that market about 17 years ago.
Oh, okay.
There was no black tea in China at that time. It's a green tea drinking country. We went for a fair exhibition, and then we didn't find anyone because
Okay.
at that time most of them didn't speak English and we didn't speak Chinese. But
Oh,
we didn't give up at that point. We kept on pursuing, we kept on going for exhibitions, and then we homed in on one guy. And that person was wanting to import the Mabroc brand and sell it, distribute it.
okay.
We struggled a lot. We shipped a little bit. Maximum we shipped for a year was about 6 containers of branded products. But then we found black tea was not moving.
Okay.
Then we got on to flavored tea because the new generation of Chinese were basically they were traveling. So they were exposed to flavored tea in other countries. So they started taking the flavored tea. So we had some inroads. But then when we really did research, we found that okay, black tea can be made to suit the Chinese palate. So this is where we had the major breakthrough, where with our partner in China, we brought in machines, Chinese machines. It's orthodox manufacture like in Sri Lanka, but machines are different. Rollers are small, and the leaf that we use for the manufacture is very tender leaf, just two leaves and a bud, but it has to be very tender. So we did these trials, and it took off extremely well. And there was a time that we couldn't meet the demand,
Wow.
and basically that was a start. And now we've captured, I would say, about 30 to 35% of the Chinese market for Ceylon tea.
Okay. Fantastic.
And we've been the largest tea exporter to China, which is the most potential market for Ceylon tea at the moment. for the last 5 years. So we've been maintaining #1 position right along.
And you are also, or you have already looked at overseas expansions?
Yes, we have invested in a distribution company in Poland, and which has very good inroads into the supermarket chains, not only in Poland, in Europe. So that's a very good opening that we got. So they are very strong with the largest Polish supermarket chain called Biedronka. They have almost 3,200 outlets all over Poland.
Okay.
It's a Portuguese-based company, but very strong in Poland. And they also supply supermarket chains like Auchan, Lidl. So that's a very good breakthrough that we had. And we are expanding our local operation to cater to the demand for that.
Okay.
That's one. And then we have also opened office in Kenya. We want to replicate the same operation that we do in Sri Lanka in Kenya. Of course, one main reason was their crop was much higher, and it's still growing, but their tea is very young still.
Okay.
So their crop is higher, plus a different type of tea that they produce to the Sri Lankan tea. Because they do CTC manufacture, we do orthodox manufacture. And plus, most of our existing clients are using Kenyan tea. And they've asked us several times, why don't you supply us Kenyan tea? So this was actually chairman's idea, chairman of Hayleys. He was pushing us to seriously look at it, and with Mr. Sarath Ganegode, we did the initial visit and homed in on a very good party. And we've registered the company, got the Tea Board of Kenya license. We start operations on 1st of August.
Okay.
The team will leave tomorrow morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Super. So I also want to talk about your innovations, right? Like, I think you have the winter berry, which I love. So like, tell us a little bit about the flavors and like, what's the process for innovation at
Yeah,
Mabroc?
basically, the innovation started at the start of Mabroc Teas.
Okay.
When we started, there were so many established companies, and the 5 friends sat down and was trying to decide which route we should take. And if you take the beaten path, then you're just another exporter. So we decided, let's innovate in tea and as well as packaging. Of course, there are a lot of tea companies that excel in packaging. And we decided first to go with the blends, innovate in blends. We were the first company, I think, in Sri Lanka to blend green tea with black tea together. And then we made flavor cocktails, flavored the teas. Then we added on fruit pieces and flower petals. And we gave it unique names because everyone was having, say, apple flavored tea or orange flavored tea or whatever. We wanted to be different there. So we gave it unique names. Now, this one here, it's called the 1001 Nights or Night of Thousand Stars.
Okay.
Right. Now, this one, even some of the foreign flavor companies are trying to match the flavor that we have done.
Okay.
We do flavor cocktails. And this has been a real hit in so many markets like Japan, Russia, Thailand, Taiwan. So basically, so we went on that route, and we have a team still working on innovations of blends and packaging, and that has paid off extremely well. And even the Chinese breakthrough we got was mainly through innovation. Producing at the farm gate level, we were producing tea differently to all the others. And we had the sole supply chain. So we could make a difference compared to the others.
So you were able to cater to what they require, no, rather than just giving. Okay. So I mean, I feel from our conversation that you're obviously very passionate about tea. So like, what about how do you see the Sri Lankan tea industry as a whole? Like, how has it evolved and what is the future?
Well, Sri Lankan tea uh, is considered the most cleanest and the best tea in the world. So there's still a lot of demand from consuming countries, mainly from the Middle East, because they are still into drinking tea without tea bags. They brew the tea. But if you take Europe, it's tea bags because of convenience. So we cater to both because our tea has a unique flavor. The flavor comes from the soil, the rain, the type of manufacture, everything. So that's unique to Sri Lanka, and that will be there for a long time. And then I think the way forward is branding. If all the companies brand tea and then sell it under the pure Ceylon Tea lion logo, I think we will have a good future in the future.
Okay, so I mean, great chat. Before we wrap up, like any advice you can give to the younger generation, maybe those who are joining Hayleys, maybe those who are joining the tea industry, anything you want to leave us with?
Let me start with Hayleys.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of people queuing up to join Hayleys because this is the largest, most diversified conglomerate um, led by a legend in the private sector. And then the way they manage companies is very interesting. The procedure, as I mentioned, procedures and systems are very, very interesting, and you can fall back on it. And this is where I see why this company has progressed so much. So if you take Mabroc, we are basically a very ethical company. We do the right thing, however difficult it is. We were the first company to be admitted to the United Nations Global Compact in New York, where we support and practice the 10 ethical principles of the United Nations. So we are no longer a small company now. And what is interesting is we innovate all the time, be it blends, be it packaging, be it manufacture, be it production. I mean, we have one of the most sophisticated laboratories in-house, and that's an added advantage we give our customers. So these are some of the innovations we have done outside the teapot. So it's an interesting journey with Mabroc if anyone is wanting to join, and then coupled with the Hayleys standing in the country and abroad, it's a good place to make a career.
Okay. Super. Thank you so much for your time, Niran. Always a pleasure talking.
Thank you very much for having me. Okay,
you.
thank you.